weeks we were studying about Christianity in the world as a whole. Now that part is not over, but basically we have covered most important aspect for our purpose. There are a few more pages to cover, but I thought that I will go to Christianity in India. One big problem that I found is the lack of books with me. I have books back home in Kerala. I never thought I would need to take a detailed study of Christianity in India as such, so I didn't bring. Actually, I have half a dozen books on this subject, so Brother Tom has given me one book by a man called J.C. Dev, which is an extensive work actually. He has done a good amount of research and all that. The major weakness of that book is that book takes one side of the view only. It doesn't present the opposite view on many issues. So those who read, if they have not done any other reading, they will think that's the whole truth. That's a danger. As a good teachers, we need to expose to both sides and then show comparative weakness or strength, and let the listener, the reader, make the conclusions more than we make a conclusion for them. So that book has a weakness of that sort. Otherwise, plenty of information in it, definitely. So this question, when did Christianity come to India, is an unsettled issue actually. When did Christianity come to India? A general sense of the view by politicians and by Christians is that Christianity in India is as old as Christianity in itself is. That's the general view. But more critical scholars necessarily do not hold that view for different reasons. It is generally thought that Apostle Thomas came to India and brought Christianity. That's what generally, as Kenneth Scott Latre, a very famous church historian, he said it, insistent tradition ascribes the introduction of Christianity to India to the Apostle Thomas. Insistent tradition, that means that's what everybody insists. But he said that thus far this has never been satisfactorily proved or disproved. Nobody could prove it, nobody could disprove it, because the lack of any written evidence. It remains as a tradition. So how far this tradition is true, nobody knows. I am a little more of the opinion that Apostle Thomas may have come to India, but he may not have come to Kerala. Yes, there are less chances for him to come to Kerala. There are many reasons for me to think like that. Number one is the tradition that we find in Kerala is totally different from the traditions of Christianity in other places where the apostles have gone. We have Christianity all over Europe, for example. The traditions in India is quite different from that, such as the appointment of priests. The New Testament teaches that every believer is a priest. So how can Thomas appoint 7 families as priests? This contradicts the teachings of the Bible. Can you think that Apostle Thomas will do that? Then the establishment of building of church buildings as a holy place parallel to the Jewish people, that again is not proven. Only in the 4th century, the rest of the part of the world had the first, their own building actually. So how can Thomas come and just do that one? Then the tradition of child baptism, for example, Mamodisa. The Bible and the apostles elsewhere all had adult baptism. We never find it. Child baptism is from the 4th century on, 2nd, 3rd century on. So if Thomas Apostle came and he would introduce something other than what the Lord commanded in Matthew 28, 19 and 20. All over the world, the Bible the apostles introduced is the Koine Greek Bible. But in Kerala there is no trace of Greek Bible until much later centuries. It is the Syrian Bible, Suryani, So how can Thomas bring Suryani Bible? Suryani Bible was made only, translation was made only in the 2nd century. So Thomas brought the Suryani Bible before the translation was made in the 1st century. So there is, when you put together, there are so many inconsistencies in that tradition. The Syrian Christians in Kerala, for example, nowhere else in the world you have Syrian Christians where the apostles gone. So how could Kerala have Syrian Christians if Apostle Thomas came?
Just like corruption came on to everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, well that's true, but this sort of corruption nowhere else we find. Like the having, only in Syria you have the Syrian worship, language of worship of Syria. Everywhere else it was, in the early days, it was Greek or their mother tongue. But here in Kerala, mother tongue is not Syrian. Why should Syriac language be taught here for liturgy? That's a big question. So apparently there was somebody who was interested in bringing, Syriac. That's a logical thing. So, so then it points out, we come back to the other view that in the 3rd and 4th centuries there were migrations from Syria, Syrian migrations. There were 3 major migrations. So they have brought the Syriac Bible and the Syrian language and all that. That makes. So Kerala Christians, old ones are called the Syrian Christians because the Syrian people came and they have introduced Christianity at that time. So their converts were taught, Syrian language and Syrian liturgy and all that. So if Apostle Thomas came, definitely the Christians will not be called Syrian Christians. So there are very strong evidences contrary to. But be it that, everybody takes little pride in saying that Apostle Thomas started our country, so I say that okay, go ahead with that one. Yeah, the another thing is Kerala was never known as India in those days. No. The name India actually applied only to that area in the north, the Sindh River, Indus River. That's a place where. So by land route he may have come to, he can come from Palestine, he can come through Iran, Afghanistan, that he can take that route there. So he may have come there. And it's possible that from up he may have come down, it's possible. That's possible, it's a possibility. But his burial place is traditionally in Mylapore. So he is said to have been assassinated by a Brahmin in there. So he may have come down up to there, So all the traditions of appointing priests, 7 families, building certain churches, and the tradition that he has come to build a palace for a king. You cannot think that an apostle will go to build a palace for a secular pagan king and all that, When they put the pieces together, it doesn't hold very good. Now, the only thing that will suggest he has come is the fact that Kerala had Jewish migrations as far back as from 586 BC, when the Jerusalem temple was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar and all the Jewish people were scattered. While the majority of them were taken to Babylon, a good number of the people came to India, that is Kerala, because they had trade relationship the Arabs and the Jewish people had trade relations with Kerala for the spices as early as those days. So there was a Jewish settlement, of course, in Kraganur, which is Kodunallur, today. There's a Jewish cemetery and an old Jewish synagogue and all that. So it's possible that Thomas came to visit the Jewish people there. And like the other apostles went wherever the Jewish diaspora, they call them the scattering. So these people he may have come. If that's the case, then the early Christians in Kerala must be the Jewish Christians. But there is no evidence that Jewish Christians existed. The only evidence that there were Jewish people existed. Because none of those Jewish tombs have a cross on it. No evidence that the Jewish people here accepted Christianity. There were very Orthodox Jewish people remained. So if Thomas came, he couldn't accomplish what he came for. His mission was a failure. So there is less evidence actually, I think, that to prove that one. The book I read, he simply stated that Thomas came. Period. Doesn't evaluate, anything. So I am of the opinion that, if he had come, he didn't come straight to Kerala, he came there. There are evidences that he has came. There are some Christian writings as far back as 5th century which saying that there were Christians in the north around Indus Valley. There were many Christians there. And that's very much possible that Thomas must have gone. Kerala was not a part of India, that India, it was called the Hindu Desham, like in the book of Esther. That was never down here. It was only up there. So even that title, the word India cannot be, if it is mentioned anywhere, it cannot refer to Kerala at that time. So, history, secular history cannot support this. The strong tradition, that is, there is a strong tradition. No, definitely. So, if Apostle Thomas must not have come, some Thomas must have come. Yeah, definitely. And there is, history says that, the Kanai Thoman, for example, he came. He was a Syrian, and a lot of people came with him. And Kerala still have a strong Knanaya people, strong Knanaya people, especially certain parts, in central Travancore, Rani, Chenganur area, Kottayam, and some of those areas. The northern Kerala doesn't have. The southern Kerala, Trivandrum area also does not have. The central Travancore area, has a very strong presence of the Knanaya Christians. So that supports the theory that Christianity in India was introduced by the Syrian migrations. So we have Syrian Christians and Syriac language as our liturgical language, and the building of the church buildings and all that, they probably were brought in by,
No other part of India has Syrian.
No other part of India has Syrian Christian. Only Kerala has. No other part of the world has Syrian Christian other than in Syria. The apostles have gone everywhere. No Syrian Christians anywhere. So, and Syriac Bible is only used other than in Syria, over here. So these are very strong, argument against the Apostle Thomas coming. If he came, definitely some New Testament Greek Bibles, some manuscripts should have been available somewhere, because all the New Testament books were written in Greek language, but we don't have any trace of them. Only we have the Syrian Bible. So these are, the Syrian Bible was not made until that was the first version. First translation of the Greek Bible was in Syriac language. That happened in the latter part of 2nd century, 3rd century there, So the theory that we had migration of the Syrians and bringing the Syrian Bible, I think that's more acceptable than the Apostle Thomas coming.
So the claim that Apostle came in 1858, by the time the New Testament was written,
Many books start coming, yes. But the fact that all the books were not written there, but if Thomas was here, the apostles definitely, unless he never went back or no other Jew from there came here, Christian, that very seldom happens. The apostles always had contacts one to another. So those books must have been, sent here. But we have no trace of them. For that reason, even interestingly, we don't have the manuscripts of the Septuagint Bible here very much.
Is Syrian Bible the translation of our Bible?
Yeah, Syrian Bible is a translation of the New Testament. Yeah, not the whole. The Peshitta they called the Peshitta. The Syrian Peshitta was.
Churches like Marthoma churches are the same churches.
Marthoma Church is very recent, only 200 years. Here in the Indian tradition of the churches were the Orthodox. Actually the Nestorian tradition. Now in church history we talked about Nestorian view that, see that Jesus Christ had we believe that there is a deity and humanity, in Jesus, but here there is only one nature, deity, humanity united to form a third nature, the Nestorian view. So that's what the churches, for example, the Suraya, Chaldean Christian in Trichur, the Bishop Aprem and all those people, they're all very Nestorians. Here the Indian Orthodox churches held the Nestorius view for a long time. Even now also the Orthodox Church, they hold the Nestorius view. So these are all evidences that the Marthoma Church is a very recent phenomenon. Abraham Alpan was lived in the 1800s, and Thomas Athanasius, the first their bishop was, when was he? He was in the early part of the 1900s. It's a very, very new church. Yeah. It was the Orthodox Church. The evangelical came in yeah, and Daniel, did that all. Yeah, that's so much. Very, I remember very well the fight going on and all that. Then they come out and all that. Evangelical church is what, 60, much younger than me. I may have been 15 years old when the evangelical church was formed. 50 years, maybe 60 years at the most. Yeah. Actually, some of our own men, like, Brother Joy David's father, David sir and all, they were all, came out from that and only, So it's very, very recent, yeah, very recent evangelical church.
Is there nothing much common between the Syrian Catholic traditions in Kerala and the original Syrian traditions? If you go to churches that side, it's totally different.
It's different because there's a lot of adjustment to Kerala culture. There are certain cultures still of the Knanaya Christians, some of their culture, but still it's an amalgamation of the two.
But even the church architecture,
Yeah.
traditions, you see Syrian original churches which you can see now, they have got nothing. I haven't seen anything similar to that in.
I don't know what was Syrian architecture, but the traditional architecture is different. The European, architecture is entirely different. The Syrian churches, which is the oldest Syrian church in Kottayam, in Chingavanam, where their headquarters is, the Rani Church, which is, I don't know, which is the earliest settlement here in Kerala of granite? You know anybody? Anything about that? Don't keep up with your roots. Yeah. Yeah, there are many stories about him. He was a righteous man, you know, but he was trapped. Yeah, he was trapped. You know, he had 2 wives, you know. The first wife was a legal wife. The second wife, you know, I don't know whether these things should go into all these things. That's a problem. Tradition says that, you know, they trapped him. They knew he was a righteous man. So a woman was washing clothes. And, you know, he was coming by the... He was coming by the varamb where this woman was washing clothes. And she pretended her chain fell in when she was looking for it. So then he was a righteous man. He said, "What are you looking for?" "I lost my chain." She said, "Well, I'll take it for you." You know, he got and he took it. And then she said, "My hands are full of soap, so why don't you put it on me?" So he put it on it. There were 5 people hiding, 6 people. So they immediately came and said, "Since you put the chain, you have to accept her as wife." That's our tradition here. So people say he was strict. You know, that's one tradition that, you know, anyway. These are all stories, you know. We don't know how much of these stories are always true, but I have, you know, read some of these stories in some books. But he was a righteous man, so he said, "Okay, if that's your tradition, then I have no choice, but I have to honor it." So she was an unmarried woman, so, you know, she became his wife. That's the story. There are many such stories floating around. How much of that is true, I don't know. But anyway, coming back to, you know, this tradition of Apostle Thomas coming to Kerala is very much believed. Very much believed. The 7 families that were made priests and all that, you know. And those families will be so proud about it, you know. One, you know, Kali uncle, Kali. What were the other families, remember? I know it's Kali uncle because that's my family tradition. So, you know, so people are so proud, you know, this and that, and so priesthood. I say he cannot make priesthood because everybody is a priest. It's like saying that, you know, Thomas came and made some human beings here. How can everybody is a human being here? So Bible teaches that every born again Christian is a priest. How can he make a priest? If they say that elders were appointed, fine, then elders are not appointed from families. So the priestly families were made, you know. So I'm very uncomfortable with you know, a man like Apostle Thomas cannot go against the scriptures. You know, he was the disciple. So all the traditions are against the scriptures. Either the scripture stands, New Testament, or the tradition stand. Both cannot. So I will go for the scriptures, and a man like one of the apostles will do things that are contrary to, you know, you cannot take it. You cannot take it. But then, of course, as I said, he came to around the Indus Valley, and you know, a lot of Christian families were there from very old time. You know, first century itself, they say that at least Origen is the one, I think, who made a reference to that Christianity was in that area, you know, from the first century. There are some people who traveled, they have reported to him that there were large number of Christian families living there. So he makes them reference that Thomas went there, so he may have done it. And that's very much possible. But other than that, coming to Kerala straight, you know, the traditions doesn't go well with it. And interestingly, the Christians there are not Syrian Christians. Syriac language is not their liturgical language. You know, they worship the Lord in their own language. So that goes better with, these things. But if I say this before some people, I know that what's going to happen. The black sheep, because you are speaking against the pride of our culture, our religion, that's the pride of our religion. Apostle Thomas started Christianity here. Well, praise the Lord, my name is also Thomas. I can say that, my family was converted by him. So everybody who was Thomas, well, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't. So I, agree with the Latre when he said, that thus far nobody has come up with satisfactory evidence to prove or disprove it. It remains a tradition. A tradition is a tradition. Yes. India had commercial relationship with Israel and Palestine much before the time of Christ. Alexander the Great had attacked India. The war with the King Porus and all that. We all studied in history, and that all happened there in the north, not in the south. It may be that Christianity was introduced to India in the 3rd century. That is most probably, because that's when the first Syrian migration has taken place. 3 migrations came, large number of people came. The Syrians are little fair-skinned than our Indians. So the fact that in India, Kerala, we have fair-skinned people and, darker-skinned people, of course, shows that definitely certain blood mixing happened. And that has to be with, from Trichur and all that part. And yes, of course, there are, because the Syrians are, if the Syrians look more like the brown skin and all that, but they are fairer than what we are. You know how God made man, don't you? Adam was fair? No. See, God has never made man, first time. So he wanted to make man. So he took some mud and shaped it and all that, and then he put it for baking. You had to bake it, So he was in a hurry because God wanted to see how the man came out. So he just put it and took it out. It was not baked properly. So anyway, he said that since I made it, I don't want to throw it away. So he breathed, made alive, and he said, you all go stay in Europe. They are the Europeans. The second time God made one and he put it for baking. He said, I'm not going to be in a hurry. So he waited till it too long and took it out. Lo, it just burned up. So he said, you go to the African side, stay there. Then the Lord, the 3rd time, he made it and he said, well, the average of the 2 times, and he just took it out. Looked somewhat like us, Neither black nor white. And God said, I'm well pleased with it. So Adam was our color.
There are many Keralites who have very similar features to Africans, like curly hair, thick lips, and very.
But you think that the Keralites are so morally good that they never intermarry? I don't believe that much. The anthropologists think that we are not Caucasians, we are not Negroids, we are not Mangaloids. What are we? That's a big question, So what is our origin, our stock, So there are different theories. One of the theories is that, of course, we Keralites come from Sri Lanka. From North India, people, group of people went into Sri Lanka, and then group migrated to here. There is a place in Sri Lanka called Chova. From there people have come to Kerala, therefore they are called the Chovans, in the old time. Chovans. Yeah, that's say they are, you know. So we originally really are the people who came from Sri Lanka. Interestingly, the Sinhalese in Sri Lanka look exactly like we Malayalis.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I have gone to Sri Lanka many times, and standing sometimes in the bus stand for bus. Of course, the Sinhalese won't grow mustache.